You want to know what it's like to realize that your own child, the person you carried for 9 months, the person you sacrificed everything for, has been systematically destroying your life? Let me tell you my story because what happened to me could happen to any of you watching this right now. I'm 57 years old, and I've been a single mother since my son Marcus was 3. His father walked out on us without a backward glance, leaving me to raise this boy alone while working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. I worked as a cashier during the day and cleaned offices at night, sometimes getting only 4 hours of sleep because I refused to let my son go without anything he needed. You know what I did? I gave up my dreams of going back to school. I gave up dating, gave up having a social life, gave up buying myself new clothes so that Marcus could have the latest sneakers, the video games his friends had, the birthday parties at expensive places. I lived on ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches while making sure he had home-cooked meals every single night. When he was 16 and wanted a car, I took out a loan I couldn't afford. When he wanted to go to college, I worked overtime for 3 years straight to save money for his tuition. I developed chronic back pain from all those years of cleaning offices, but I never complained because everything I did was for him. Everything was always for him. I want you watching this to really understand what I'm telling you here. This wasn't just being a good mother. This was me literally sacrificing my health, my future, my happiness, everything I had, and everything I was for this child. And I did it gladly because I thought that's what love meant. I thought that's what being a mother meant. Marcus graduated college, got a decent job in marketing, and I was so proud. Finally, I thought, I can start thinking about myself a little bit. Maybe I could take that community college course I'd always wanted to take. Maybe I could start saving for my own retirement instead of always giving everything away. But then Marcus started coming around more often. At first, I was thrilled. My son wanted to spend time with me. He'd bring takeout, we'd watch movies, and he'd ask about my day. For a few months, it felt like we were finally developing an adult relationship, like all those years of sacrifice had paid off. Then the conversation started getting weird. He'd ask about my finances, about how much I had saved, about my retirement account. "Mom," he'd say, "you're getting older. You need to start thinking about protecting your money. There are scammers out there who target women your age." I should have seen it coming. God, I should have seen it coming, but I was so hungry for his attention, so desperate to believe that he cared about my well-being, that I ignored every red flag that was waving right in front of my face. "You know, Mom," he said one evening about 6 months ago, "I've been thinking about your situation. You're working so hard, and you're not getting any younger. What if something happened to you? What if you got sick and couldn't manage your finances anymore?" The way he said it, it sounded so caring, so concerned. He was looking right at me with those eyes that used to look at me when he was little and needed something, and I fell for it completely. "I think you should transfer your accounts to me," he continued. "Just for safety. Just so someone you trust can help you manage everything. I work in business, Mom. I understand finances better than you do. I can help you make your money grow." I want everyone watching this to understand the position I was in. Here was my son, the person I'd given everything to, telling me that he wanted to help me. After decades of me taking care of him, he was finally offering to take care of me. How could I say no to that? But something in my gut felt wrong. Maybe it was the way he wouldn't quite meet my eyes when he talked about it. Maybe it was how quickly he wanted everything done. "We should set this up next week," he said. "I'll handle all the paperwork." I told him I needed to think about it, and you know what he did? He got angry. Not disappointed, not hurt, angry. "Mom, I'm trying to help you here. Don't you trust me? After everything you've done for me, don't you think I want to take care of you now?" And there it was, the guilt, the manipulation, using my own love for him as a weapon against me. But I was so conditioned to put his needs first, so desperate to believe that he loved me the way I loved him, that I ignored the voice in my head screaming that this was wrong. I agreed. God help me, I agreed. Within 2 weeks, Marcus had all my bank account information. He said it would be easier if he just had access to everything, that way he could monitor things better. He convinced me to add him to my credit cards, just for emergencies. He even got me to sign papers, making him a joint owner of my savings account. "This is just temporary, Mom," he assured me. just until we get everything organized. You'll still have full access to everything. I'm just here to help." For about a month, everything seemed normal. I could still access my accounts, still pay my bills. Marcus would call and give me updates about how he was optimizing my investments. I felt taken care of for the first time in decades. Then I went to the grocery store, and my card was declined. I was standing there in line with a cart full of groceries, and the cashier is telling me my card won't go through. The woman behind me is sighing and checking her watch, and I'm fumbling through my wallet trying different cards, but they're all being declined. I had to leave my groceries there and walk out of that store humiliated, confused, and scared. I drove straight home and called the bank, and that's when I found out that my checking account had been drained. Completely empty. "Ma'am," the bank representative said, "your account shows several large transfers over the past 2 weeks, all authorized by the joint account holder, Marcus." My son had taken every penny I had. I called him immediately, my hands shaking so badly I could barely dial the number. "Marcus, there's been some kind of mistake. My account is empty. Someone took all my money." You know what he said? He laughed. He actually laughed and said, "Mom, relax. I moved the money to a better investment account. You're going to make so much more money this way. Trust me." But when I asked for the account information, when I asked to see statements, when I asked for access to my own money, he started getting evasive. "It's complicated, Mom. Let me handle it. You don't understand how these things work." That's when I started paying attention. Really paying attention. And what I found made me sick to my stomach. I went through my credit card statements, the ones I could still access, and found charges I didn't recognize. Expensive restaurants I'd never been to. A payment to a luxury car dealership. Online purchases for electronics and clothing, hundreds of dollars at a time. I called the credit card company and found out that Marcus had been using my cards for months. Not just for emergencies like he'd said, but for everything. He was living off my credit while draining my bank accounts. But it got worse. So much worse. I decided to check my credit report, and that's when I discovered that Marcus had opened 3 new credit cards in my name. 3 cards I'd never applied for, never received, never even knew existed. He'd been using my social security number and forging my signature, racking up thousands of dollars in debt that I was responsible for. My credit score had dropped over 200 points. I had creditors calling me about payments I'd never made. My son, my own son, had destroyed my financial life and left me holding the bag. When I confronted him about the credit cards, he didn't even try to deny it. "Mom, you're being dramatic. It's not like you were using your credit anyway. I'm building something here, and when it pays off, you'll be taken care of for life." "What are you building, Marcus? What are you doing with my money?" "I'm starting a business, Mom. An online marketing company. It's going to be huge, but I need capital to get it off the ground. Your money is an investment in our future." Our future. Like I was a business partner instead of the mother he was stealing from. I want you to understand something. This wasn't just about money. This was about betrayal on a level I never thought possible. This was about realizing that the person I'd loved and sacrificed for my entire adult life saw me as nothing more than a source of funding for his dreams. I started doing research, trying to figure out what this business was that was so important he'd destroy his mother's life for it. You know what I found? Nothing. No business registration, no website, no evidence of anything except my son spending my money on expensive dinners and designer clothes. He was using me. Plain and simple. All those visits, all that fake concern about my financial security, it was all a setup to get access to everything I had. I realized I had to see bank statements, had to know exactly how much he'd taken. So I went to the bank in person, and what they told me made me physically ill. In the 3 months since Marcus had gotten access to my accounts, he'd transferred out over $40,000. $40,000 that I'd saved over 20 years of working multiple jobs, living on nothing, denying myself everything. My retirement was gone. The money I'd planned to use to fix my roof, to maybe take a small vacation for the first time in my life, to feel secure in my old age, all of it was gone. The bank representative looked at me with such pity in her eyes. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. We see this more often than you'd think. Usually it's strangers, but sometimes it's family. I finished for her. She nodded sadly. Would you like information about reporting financial fraud?
Fraud.
My own son had committed fraud against me. I sat in my car in that bank parking lot and cried harder than I'd cried since Marcus's father left us. But these weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of rage. Pure, burning rage at being used, at being manipulated, at being treated like nothing more than an ATM by the person I'd given my life to. I drove straight to Marcus's apartment. I didn't call first. I didn't warn him I was coming. I used the key he'd given me for emergencies and walked right in. He was there with two friends, and they were setting up what looked like some kind of recording studio. Expensive microphones, professional lighting, a camera setup that probably cost more than I made in 6 months. All bought with my money. Mom, he said, jumping up like I'd caught him doing something wrong. Which I had. What are you doing here? We need to talk.
Now.
His friends could obviously feel the tension, and they made excuses to leave. Good thing, because what happened next wasn't pretty. Marcus, I said, and my voice was so calm it surprised even me. I want every penny back. I want access to my accounts. I want those credit cards canceled, and I want you to fix my credit score. Today. He had the nerve to look annoyed. Mom, we've been through this. Your money is invested. I can't just pull it out without losing. Stop lying to me. I screamed, and I mean screamed. All that rage, all that pain, all those years of being taken for granted came pouring out of me. There is no investment. There is no business. You've been stealing from me. I haven't been stealing anything. You gave me access to those accounts. I gave you access to help me, not to rob me blind. That equipment, this apartment, your car, that's all my money, isn't it? He couldn't even look at me. That's when I knew I was right about everything. You're going to transfer every penny back to my accounts right now, or I'm calling the police. And you know what he said? You know what my son said to me after I'd given him everything? You can't prove anything, Mom. You signed the papers. You gave me permission. Good luck explaining to the cops that you voluntarily gave your son access to your money and then changed your mind. I want everyone watching this to really hear what he just said. He wasn't denying that he'd stolen from me. He was telling me that he'd been smart enough to manipulate me into making it legal. This wasn't some impulsive mistake. This was planned. This was calculated. My son had looked at me and seen a target, and he'd spent months setting up the perfect crime. Besides, he continued, what are you going to do?
You need me, Mom.
You don't understand finances. You don't understand technology. You don't understand the modern world. Without me helping you, you'll lose everything anyway. That's when something inside me broke. Or maybe something inside me finally healed. Because in that moment, I realized that the son I'd loved and sacrificed for didn't exist. Maybe he never had. The person standing in front of me was a stranger who happened to share my DNA. You're right, I said quietly. I did sign those papers. I did give you access to my accounts. He smiled then, thinking he'd won. But you know what else I can do? I can remove you from those accounts just as easily as I added you. And I can report those credit cards you opened in my name as fraud because I never authorized those. And I can tell everyone we know exactly what kind of person you really are. The smile faded from his face real fast. You wouldn't. Watch me. I walked out of that apartment and drove straight back to the bank. I closed every account that Marcus had access to and opened new ones. I called every credit card company and reported the fraudulent accounts. I changed all my passwords, all my PINs, everything. It took 3 weeks and more paperwork than I thought possible, but I got most of my money back. The credit card companies had insurance for fraud, and once I filed the police reports, yes, I filed police reports against my own son, the money that had been stolen was returned to my accounts. Marcus called me dozens of times during those 3 weeks. First, he was angry, threatening to take me to court, claiming I was mentally incompetent. Then he tried guilt, crying about how I was ruining his life, how he'd never be able to trust me again. Finally, he tried to bargain, promising to pay me back if I'd just give him one more chance. I didn't answer a single call. You want to know the hardest part of all this? It wasn't losing the money. Money can be replaced. It wasn't even the betrayal, as much as that hurt. The hardest part was accepting that I'd raised someone capable of this. Where did I go wrong? What did I do that made my son think it was okay to destroy his mother's life for his own benefit? Was I too giving? Too trusting? Did I teach him that my needs didn't matter by always putting his first? I've been going to therapy to try to figure this out, and my therapist says something that really stuck with me. She said, "You can't love someone into being a good person. You can't sacrifice enough to earn someone's respect." Sometimes people make choices that have nothing to do with how they were raised and everything to do with who they choose to be. Marcus chose to be someone who would steal from his mother. That's on him, not on me. But here's what I want everyone watching this to understand. I'm not telling you this story so you'll feel sorry for me. I'm telling you this because I know some of you are in similar situations right now. Maybe it's not your child. Maybe it's a spouse, a parent, a sibling, a friend, but someone in your life is taking advantage of your love and your trust. Someone is making you feel guilty for having boundaries. Someone is convincing you that their needs are more important than your well-being. Someone is using your own generosity as a weapon against you. I want you to listen to me very carefully. It is not selfish to protect yourself. It is not mean to say no. It is not wrong to expect the people you love to treat you with respect and honesty. For 34 years, I believed that being a good mother meant giving until it hurt, meant sacrificing everything for my child, meant never putting my own needs first. And maybe some of that was right when Marcus was actually a child who needed me to take care of him. But somewhere along the way, I forgot that love is supposed to be mutual. I forgot that healthy relationships require respect from both people. I forgot that I had value beyond what I could provide for other people. Marcus is 37 years old now. He's not a child who needs his mother to sacrifice her future for his benefit. He's a grown man who should be taking care of himself, and if he can't do that, that's his problem to solve, not mine. I know some of you watching this are thinking, but he's your son. How can you cut off your own child? And I understand that reaction because I thought the same thing for weeks after I cut contact with Marcus. But here's what I figured out. Cutting him off wasn't about punishing him. It was about loving myself enough to stop enabling his destructive behavior. It was about refusing to be a victim anymore. It was about finally putting my own well-being first. And you know what? I sleep better now than I have in years. I wake up every morning knowing that my money is safe, that my credit score is recovering, that no one is using my love against me. For the first time in decades, I'm living for myself instead of for someone else. I'm taking that community college course I always wanted to take. I'm learning about computers and social media and all the things Marcus told me I was too old to understand. Turns out I'm not too old at all. I was just being convinced I was helpless by someone who benefited from my insecurity. I'm making friends, real friends who like me for who I am instead of what I can give them. I'm dating for the first time in 30 years, and it's terrifying and exciting and wonderful. I'm planning a vacation to Ireland, something I've wanted to do my entire life, but never thought I could afford. Well, guess what? I can afford it now that I'm not funding someone else's lifestyle. Some days I miss Marcus. I miss the little boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, who used to bring me drawings from school, who used to tell me he loved me every night before bed. But that little boy grew up into a man who chose to hurt me, and I can't keep mourning the person he could have been while ignoring the person he actually is. I want to be very clear about something, though. If Marcus ever genuinely apologized, if he ever showed real remorse for what he did, if he ever demonstrated that he understood how badly he hurt me and was committed to changing, I would consider having a relationship with him again. But it would be a very different relationship. It would be one with clear boundaries, with transparency, with mutual respect. It would be one where my needs mattered as much as his. It would be one where love was shown through actions, not just words. Until that happens, if it ever happens, I'm focused on building a life that makes me happy instead of trying to make other people happy at my own expense. Now, I want to talk directly to those of you who see yourselves in my story. Maybe your situation isn't exactly the same, but you recognize the feelings I'm describing. You know what it's like to feel taken for granted, manipulated, used by someone you love. First, I want you to know that you're not alone. Financial abuse by family members is more common than most people realize. According to the statistics I've learned since this happened to me, 1 in 9 older adults experiences some form of abuse, and financial abuse is often committed by people the victim knows and trusts. Second, I want you to know that it's not your fault. You didn't cause this by being too trusting or too giving. Predators, even when they're family members, are skilled at identifying and exploiting good people. Your kindness is not a weakness, even if someone has used it against you. Third, I want you to know that you can get help. Start by documenting everything. Save emails, texts, bank statements, anything that shows a pattern of manipulation or unauthorized use of your resources. Contact your bank, your credit card companies, the credit reporting agencies. Consider filing a police report, even if you're not sure you want to press charges. Having an official record can be important later. And please consider talking to someone about what you're going through. A therapist, a trusted friend, a family member who isn't involved in the situation. You need people in your corner who can help you see clearly when your emotions are clouded by love and fear. Most importantly, I want you to know that you have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to set boundaries. You have the right to say no, even to people you love. You have the right to put your own well-being first. I know it's scary. I know it feels like you're being selfish or mean or ungrateful. I know you're worried about what other people will think, about whether you're overreacting, about whether you're strong enough to stand up for yourself. But I'm here to tell you that you are strong enough. I was a 57-year-old woman who had never stood up for herself in her entire life, who had always been a people pleaser, who had always put everyone else's needs before her own. If I could find the strength to take control of my life, so can you. The day I walked out of Marcus's apartment and decided to fight back was the day I started living again instead of just surviving. It was the day I decided that my life had value beyond what I could provide for other people. You deserve to live that way too. You deserve to feel safe and respected and valued. You deserve relationships based on mutual love and care, not on what you can do for other people. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been hard. There are days when I second-guess myself, when I wonder if I did the right thing, when I miss the illusion of having a loving son, even if the reality was so different. But then I look at my bank balance and see money that's actually mine. I look at my calendar and see activities that I chose because they make me happy. I look in the mirror and see a woman who finally learned to value herself. That's worth more than any amount of money Marcus could have taken from me. If you're watching this and you're in a situation like mine, I want you to know that taking action doesn't mean you stop loving the person who's hurting you. It means you start loving yourself enough to demand better treatment. It means you recognize that real love doesn't involve manipulation, guilt, or exploitation. Real love is built on respect, honesty, and mutual care. Real love doesn't ask you to sacrifice your well-being for someone else's benefit. I want you to share this video if you think it might help someone you know. I want you to comment below if you've been through something similar, not with details that might compromise your safety, but just to let other people know they're not alone. And I want you to remember that you are worth fighting for. Your happiness matters. Your security matters. Your peace of mind matters. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise, not even family. Taking control of my life was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the best thing I've ever done. I'm finally living for myself, and that's not selfish. That's healthy. You can do this too. You can take back control. You can set boundaries. You can protect yourself. You can build a life that makes you happy instead of just making other people happy. You're stronger than you think, and you deserve so much better than being someone else's victim. Don't let anyone, not your children, not your spouse, not your parents, not your friends, make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. Your life belongs to you. Start living it that way. Thank you for watching, and remember, you have more power than you realize. Use it.